The final fable I'm going to look at is Scheherazade. With her, she is the master manipulator, the weaver of tales, the mistress that no one knows. She is one of the most twisted of fables, as she is going to cause your opponent nothing but headaches in her game if she's played correctly. So with her, she is not going to deal damage directly too often. She does have small amounts of damage here and there, but she is going to kill you with 1,000 cuts. It is all about doing little bits of damage here and there constantly to your opponent that will slowly bleed your opponent to death. With her, she is going to focus on placing her blue fate tokens on different supply decks. These can be from the basic supply decks, any one of the 10 basic supply decks, or from the 3 supply decks that your opponent has. And this is going to be constantly moved around from turn to turn. As the game goes on, she will get into some of her second twist cards, which will allow her even more of these fate tokens, where she can have up to 6 by the end of the game if she happens to unlock all 3 of her decks. With that, again, it is all going to be about taking advantage of these fate tokens, manipulating them, moving them around, flipping them over to the red side where they're going to deal damage to your opponent, and even stacking them up, limiting the amount of cards your opponent can take from certain decks, or having your opponent take damage from certain decks based on the fate tokens that are there, as you're going to see when I cover her cards. So as far as Scheherazade's backstory, she is very mysterious. She's unknown. We're not sure if she's a god or a jinn or many other things, AI or all kinds of different things. And so she is the mastermind syndicate behind the new cyber world. And more like the Matrix, she is the puppet master. She's the manipulator of things. She can place thoughts into your head or cut you off from the internet completely, deleting you from existence. All kinds of different things. So everybody very, very hush-hush about her, does not want to talk about her, and if you know about her, you might not make it out alive. So let's go ahead and head to her deck and see how this works. Now, a couple important things. There are a couple drawbacks. If you are facing Scheherazade, you want to get in there, do damage. She does not have capabilities to get a lot of defense, so she is going to be easy to do damage to, and she also isn't very good at moving around. So if you have a character that's very mobile, that can attack her from range or can get in there and do good amounts of damage, you'll be able to bring her down quickly. So being careful and mindful about the different decks you're drawing from, trying to stay as diverse as possible within your selection so that she can't really zone in on particular decks and do massive or more damage to you as time goes on are going to be the keys to bringing her down. So let's go ahead and take a look at her different decks. So let's go ahead and start by looking at Scheherazade's special rules. So at the beginning of the game, she's going to start with 3 of her blue fate tokens, and these are double-sided, one side being blue and the other side being red, and this is going to be important, as you're going to see in a second. So first off, at the beginning of your first turn, you're going to place 3 of the blue-sided fate tokens on 3 different supply decks, and these are going to either be one of the 10 different basic supply decks, including the attack, defense, and movement decks, as well as the wild deck. And then it's also going to include your opponent's 3 decks that they have. So you're going to choose 3 out of that selection to place the blue fate tokens on. From there, at the beginning of each of your following turns, the opponent on the same fighting track loses 1 HP for each red fate token. So there'll be situations where you're going to flip these to the red side. Next, flip each one of the red fate tokens over to the blue side, and then move all of the fate tokens to the other supply decks available to any opponents. Now, this is important as there has been a number of questions about this on BGG, and I got an answer from one of the designers about this. So anytime you have to move these fate tokens, you have to move them to decks that they currently are not on. So if you have one or more fate tokens, for example, on the basic attack card level 1, you have to move those to another deck, and the basic attack level 1 cannot have any fate tokens on it during this turn. This way, you're not completely bogging down specific decks turn after turn after turn. So you cannot have any fate tokens on any deck from the previous turn that had fate tokens on it. From there, after the opponent purchases a card from a supply deck, you're going to flip a red fate token on that deck over to the blue side. And then you're going to move 1 fate token, or more than 1 fate token can be placed on a supply deck. Even if a supply deck is empty, it still considers to be in existence. So, like I said, there'll be a number of cards, as you're going to see in a minute, that are going to allow you to flip these tokens over to their red side, and there'll be penalties for that player, but there are ways for your opponents to be able to flip them back over to their blue side so that they won't do as much damage, or won't do any damage. Scheherazade's attack deck is going to focus on mid or short to mid-range attacks that are going to do a small amount of damage, as well as being able to manipulate those blue tokens. So she's going to start with Deleted Dreams. With this one, it's going to be a range 1, damage 1, plus the basic card you play to activate it, and then you may flip over 1 blue fate token over to the red side. From there, we're going to move over to Deleted Memories. With this one, it's a range 2, 2 damage, again adding that basic card's activation, and you may flip up to 2 blue tokens over to their red sides. From there, we're going to unlock the first twist, which is going to be the Hands of Fate. With this one, when you inflict at least 3 damage on an opponent via an attack action, you may flip over up to 1 blue fate token over to its red side. Then we're going to move over to Deleted Existence. With this one, it's a range 3, 3 damage, again adding that basic card as well, and then you can flip up to 3 blue tokens over to their red sides. Finally, she is going to gain her second twist, which is Caught in the Web. Each one of her final twists is going to be the same and is going to work exactly the same way. With this one, it is going to immediately gain a new blue fate token, and then you can place that on a supply deck that is available to any opponent. And then you're going to destroy this card, removing it from the game. Scheherazade's defensive deck is going to be about gaining defense and also being able to move around fate tokens. So we're going to start with Engulfed in the Net. With this one, she is going to gain defense based on the basic card she plays to activate this, and then she can move up to 1 fate token to another supply deck that is available to any opponent. It's also going to have an ongoing effect. When an opponent purchases a card, she must spend 1 extra power for each fate token that is on that supply deck. Then we're going to move on to Saturated in the Net. This one again is going to give you defense based on the card you play to activate this. Then you can move up to 2 fate tokens to other supply decks. And then again, you're going to have that ongoing effect where your opponent purchases a card, she must spend an extra power for each fate token that is on that supply deck. Then she's going to unlock her first twist, which is Rewriting Desires. With this one, when an opponent purchases a card, she must also lose 1 HP for each fate token on that supply deck. It's nasty. Finally, we'll move into the red area level 3, which is Dissolved in the Net. With this one, again, you're gaining defense, and you can move up to 3 tokens this time. Other than that, everything else stays the same. Finally, again, you'll unlock that second twist, which is Caught in the Web, adding another blue fate token. Scheherazade's movement deck is going to be about doing small amounts of damage again at varying ranges, as well as manipulating her opponent's deck of cards. So we're going to start with the Watcher. This one is a range 1, damage 1 card, and then you're going to reveal the top number of cards based on the movement cards you played to activate this of your opponent's deck. And for each card from a supply deck with a blue fate token, you're going to get to flip a blue fate token over that deck over to its red side. Then discard each revealed card or place it back in any order. So again, massive amounts of deck manipulation of your opponent. From there, then we're going to move over to the Manipulator. Well, that's apparent. And it's going to be a range 2, 2 damage, again following the same parameters as the first one. Then we're going to lock the first twist, which is Formatting Thoughts. With this one, before an opponent on the same fighting track would draw cards at the end of their turn, you're going to reveal the top 2 cards of their deck, and for each card from the supply deck with a fate token, she loses 1 HP for each fate token on that deck, and then she is going to discard that card, then place the other cards back. From there, then we're going to move on to the Violator. With this one, it's a range 3, 3 damage, again following all the same parameters as the previous ones. And then we have the Caught in the Web final twist card again, acting just the same as the other ones, adding a blue fate token. Finally, Scheherazade's epic cards are each going to do damage among other effects. So we're going to start with the Severed Pathway. With this one, it's a range 3, 3 damage, and you can choose a supply deck with fate tokens. Then examine the opponent's deck, discard each card from her deck that comes from the chosen supply deck, and gain damage plus X, where X is equal to the number of cards discarded in this way. Then shuffle her deck. Nasty. Then Draining Addiction. This one is a range 3, 3 damage. Choose a supply deck with a fate token. You're going to gain damage plus 1 If there is a red fate token on it, then you're going to gain damage +2 instead for each card in the opponent's discard pile that comes from the chosen supply deck. Finally, we have Cut from the System. This is a range 3 damage X. You're going to flip up to 3 blue fate tokens over to the red side. X is equal to the number of tokens flipped in this way. Well, I hope that you found this video helpful and gave you a little bit of insight into this particular fable. I will have videos covering each one of the fables, as well as some other videos covering Twisted Fables. So check those out as well, and always let me know in the comments down below what you think of these, if you found them helpful, and if you have any other questions or comments, post those in the comment section down below, and I'll do my best to answer them. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my videos and leave me feedback on them. I do appreciate it and take into account everything you say to make the best possible videos. Until next time, I'll see you later.